other team that bumped up into the top 4 was my Chicago Bulls. Now, anyone who's followed me over the last few months knows that I'm not exactly the biggest LaMelo Ball fan. But I cannot lie and say that he wouldn't be a really fun fit in a backcourt with Zach LaVine and Kobe White. See, if there's one thing the Bulls have been missing over the last few years, it's a guy who can make dynamic plays. And LaMelo Ball is the most dynamic playmaker in the 2020 NBA draft. Zach LaVine and Kobe White, look, they're straight up buckets. But they're not the best at getting other guys involved. Zach LaVine and Kobe White aren't point guards. They're not guys that you want to be primary playmakers. Putting a guy like LaMelo Ball next to them alleviates that pressure. They can just focus on getting buckets. This is a big year for Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter. And both guys would be better served if they had a better playmaker than Tomas Satoransky. See, Lauri's going into year 4, and the Bulls need to know, what do they have in this guy? Is he the 19-10 sharpshooting big man that we saw in his second year? Or is he this kind of lackadaisical 14-7 guy that we saw in year 3? We mentioned it before when we talked about LaMelo's fit in Charlotte with PJ Washington. But Lauri is kind of a supercharged version. He's bigger, a little bit more dynamic off the bounce, and really should just be a bigger bucket. If there's one thing that I would want to see as a Bulls fan with LaMelo, is if he could get Lauri back to that year 2 guy that we all know he's capable of being. Next, let's talk about LaMelo's fit with Wendell Carter. See, Wendell was kind of neutered playing in Jim Boylan's offense. He was a guy who was super skilled coming out of Duke. He could pass it a little bit, he could shoot it a little bit, score with either hand around the hoop, and we know that he can defend. I want to see what LaMelo can do for Wendell offensively. I mentioned that Wendell's a great passer, and in most modern NBA offenses, you need a big who's capable of making passes out of the short roll. Well, LaMelo is going to get him the ball exactly where he needs to allow Wendell to get that ball in that short roll area and make plays for his teammates. That gives you not 1, but 2 playmakers on your team. And when you have guys like Lauri, Zach, and Kobe who are going to be finishers, you need multiple playmakers. Second, now if you had Lauri, Zach, and Kobe spreading the floor, and LaMelo and Wendell running a pick and roll, I would love to see what those 2 together could do as a lob target. We're talking alley-oops for days. But the thing that Wendell does for LaMelo, most of all, is he covers for him defensively. We talked about how the Charlotte Hornets don't really have that guy, but the Chicago Bulls do. They might have 2 with Daniel Gafford. But that's the thing. LaMelo needs the team to be built around him to fit his weaknesses. And the biggest thing that Wendell Carter can offer LaMelo Ball is that defensive presence, saving him with shots at the rim.